And there we go. That is The Audacity by My Ruin to open up today's show. Hello, of course, this is me, Mikki and OB, joined by OB on one of the sides of my screens. Hello. All of my screens are messed up on Discord at the moment, so the recording's going to look wonky. I will sort that while we are talking. However, the more important thing today is we are joined by a very special guest, the brand new CEO for the Sophie Lancaster Foundation. We are joined by Adria. How are you doing this morning, Adria?
Hey, yeah, thank you for inviting me to be here. I'm good this morning. Yeah, absolute pleasure to be here talking with you.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for taking some time out of what is undoubtedly a stupidly busy schedule, probably more busier than OB's. And OB is the busiest man I know, so hopefully we won't keep you too long this morning. But again, thank you so much for joining us on the show. We've opened up with one of your tracks, The Audacity by My Ruin. We have a bunch more on standby to play over the next hour or so while we've got you. And yeah, tell us we'll start off with an easy one. Tell us a little bit about that track, what it means to you, and why you've chosen to highlight that one today.
It's a good place to start because I always dread the "what music do you listen to" question, because I always come in with that really evasive kind of cliched answer of I listen to all kinds of stuff, which is really true. I think the reason I picked that one is I've been a fan of Terry B since forever. My Ruin had an album out must have been about so when I was in college, around about 2000 time. It was the Speak and Destroy album, and that became like the soundtrack to my college years. I think I pretty much wore that album out on my personal CD player, showing my age here. But yeah, I love her. I think she's brilliant. I love that her first album was actually a rap album. I love that she's always just gone in her own direction, like creatively. She's not ever put herself in a box. And the fact that they're still out there making music, they're still out there talking about the stuff that matters, I'm just like, yeah, icon. So yeah, that was that pick.
That was something we were talking about last week with James, who is another busy man in NATO, because he's in 4 bands, and he's helping me out with parentheses as well. Is bands reinventing themselves, being able to make an album that maybe not the early fans might enjoy, is to get new fans, and then those new fans might go through the back catalogue. So yeah, I think it's important for bands to keep reinventing themselves or trying new avenues, because it's part of their journey, but also part of the business.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's when you get those really creative sounds. I mean, when I do think about like the music that I'm into, like I love the kind of horror punk, Misfits, all of that kind of vibe, and like people probably sort of get that a bit from my aesthetic. But I'm equally likely to be listening to grime or electro swing. I think there's like good music in all genres. You've just got to find it. And if all you ever listen to is mainstream radio, you're probably going to hate all music. But when you go a little bit off the beaten track, you're going to find stuff that's exciting. And yeah, I love it when people fuse different sounds together as well. And I think that probably comes through in like some of my choices today.
I love a mashup.
Yeah.
So we always have a little bit of everything on our show by usual. Obviously, again, we are predominantly metal, but I usually pick out a couple of weird covers every week. Obi picks out a Left Turn, which is usually just weird synthwave stuff that he listens to on his rides. Or productivity music, I think you call it. I
actually don't listen to anything on the rides.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
That's brave.
Two reasons. Yeah, 2 reasons. The batteries, like I'm on the road for 12 hours a day, and I'd have to wear the in-ear ones, and they only last for a few hours anyway. But the main reason is I like to stay alert. You can hear cars coming up behind you. You can hear people on the roads around you. So it's that's an old military kickback. They're like, you've got to motivate yourself to move rather than get music to do it for you, which is a handy way to start. But I don't know. I've since then I've just always not listened to music whilst I train. So, which is probably the hardest aspect of the ride. Actually, is mentally preparing for being on your own for that long every day.
That is impressive. That is seriously impressive.
That was the hardest part, honestly, when I first did it. Being in your own headspace. And let me put it this way: if you have anything unresolved when you start the ride, it's gone by the time you get back.
Perfect. Right, so let's get into kind of the meat of why we've got you on the show today. Again, as mentioned at the start of the show, you're the brand new CEO for the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, which we all hold very dear to our hearts. Myself, OB, the majority, if not all of our listeners who know about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, obviously, as well. Tell us a little bit about the kind of work you've done over the years that have led you to join the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, and what the future of the foundation might look like over the next 6 months to a year or so.
I mean, that's some big questions, and I mean, over the next 6 months to a year, there's some really big stuff sort of coming up for the foundation, which I will talk about. In terms of me and you know how I kind of came into that role, I was working with a big charity organisation doing work around supporting victims of crime. I was actually working in the National Homicide Service, so I was working very heavily with families bereaved by murder and manslaughter. So there was that kind of context to sort of understanding the impact that these sort of incidents have on families and communities. Prior to that, I'd worked in education, teaching young offenders for a long time, and sort of done always bits and pieces of jobs, bit of a common thread running through them. But I actually saw the advert for this role with the Sophie Lancaster Foundation on Facebook. I wasn't looking for another job. I was pretty happy in my old job, but I had been there a while, and it was getting to the point where I thought, you know what, maybe you need to challenge yourself. And when I saw that advert, I saw it because I follow the foundation on social media, and I was just kind of like, oh, I would be kicking myself for the rest of my life if I didn't put myself forward for that, you know, based on my experience. And when I saw they particularly wanted somebody who had experience as a member of the alternative community as well, someone who had experienced that kind of prejudice and discrimination, I was like, actually, I don't know that many people sort of in the sector. I don't see that many other people when I go to conferences that look like me, and I know that even in the sort of professional world, I've been treated differently because of that in the past. I thought, this is just such an amazing opportunity, and I mean, it's such a huge honour to be stepping into this role, and I'm so excited to see sort of where the foundation goes. In terms of sort of the future over the next 6 months to a year, I think probably the biggest thing to talk about is actually next year is 20 years since Sophie was killed. So that's going to be a huge year for us. And I think it's kind of mind blowing when I think about it, 20 years, because I think, you know, those of us who are sort of age, we remember when it happened, and to think, wow, that was 20 years ago, you know, that was a young woman who's 20. She should be here. She should be 40 now. She should be living the lives that all of us have gone on to live. And so I think we want to make sure that 20 years on, we're making a lot of noise about this. This doesn't become something that sort of fades into the background, that people are still saying her name, that people are still talking about her, and that we're still able to carry on doing the work that the foundation does, because sadly we know that it's still so needed.
I mean, I have to say, you guys are doing a fantastic job of keeping the Sophie Lancaster Foundation in everyone's minds. You only need to mention like Sophie Lancaster to anyone in the alternative scene, and they'll immediately know who and what you're talking about. So well done for that, guys. I mean, it was when I first started doing the fundraising, it was the first charity I raised money for, because it was an easy choice.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's incredible, like the fundraising that people do. It's just, you know, that means the world to the foundation, that people still, you know, people are just continuing to want to support it. But it also tells us, you know, it really reaffirms that there is still that need. It's still that prejudice and that hatred and that discrimination that people experience for being in any way alternative is still something that happens. So yeah, we need to keep doing what we do.
Absolutely. And the other thing as well, with the case itself of Sophie Lancaster, whether it's through people like us in the subcultures, it's one of those things that pops up quite regularly still on like modern crime channels of look at this event, and then look at the change that's come out of this event. Like the Sophie Lancaster Foundation is always mentioned in quick stead behind the story of Sophie and the horrible things that happened. And you guys have always been put into this light of, look at the amazing things that you guys have already achieved in 20 years of being able to make hate crimes for the way you dress, rather than specifically race or religion, something a bit more niche with the way you dress. And that's something that you guys have done. That was something that was spearheaded, obviously, straight away. And that's made massive changes in the community. And I do feel like, obviously, there's not everybody, but I do feel like from 20 years ago, I would say there's a 75, maybe 80% more people around the world that know about and respect people, the way people dress, the way people look, the music they listen to, all of these things. So it like you guys have been doing an amazing job, and obviously the support from fundraisers like Pedal to the Metal, Rabid Fest, Deprivation Fest, and a million other festivals and groups out there that are helping to raise money every year for you guys, hopefully is still doing what it needs to do. Hopefully it hasn't slowed down too much. Obviously there'll always be a peak in the first few years of it and whatnot. But I feel like the support, specifically within the metal scene, has always been ridiculously strong for the Sophie Lancaster Foundation. Yeah. As Obi said, you mentioned her name, people know who they are, people know the story. And then the people that don't are always happy to listen and take it on board and really empathise with the whole thing.
Yeah, 100%. Go on.
I was just going to say, that's a very common story like that we hear about someone being alternative and getting picked on, and I've had so many conversations like that with either them or their mums. Like on the ride last year, bumped into someone. She saw the helmet and thought there was a kid running around. I was like, no, that's mine. I was having a bad day, and I started telling her about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation. She's like, "You've just described my daughter," and I could have been, and I really could have been talking about anyone in the alt scene. She says, yeah, she just covers herself in tattoos now. So it's like, so she, gave me £5 towards the cause. So I had to do the donation out of my bank account that way, because that's the thing with just giving is all online, which is 90% convenient for most people. But but you get the odd cash donation.
Perfect. Right, we will let's break up the mood a little bit, because we hit a bit of a somber note there, as to be expected, but let's break it up and play another couple of tracks. Adria, do you have any specific tracks you'd like us to play next from your picks?
No, I don't. Go for it. Whatever you think fits the flow.
Perfect. Well, in which case, I'm never going to turn down a chance to play this track. This is the very first track that we played on the Blegh project all those years ago. Was starting this up, and perfect song to play. So I'm going to play Delilah Bon and Old Black Era with, and there we go. That was Witch by Delilah Bon and Old Black Era, followed by Degradation by Rory. Both tracks that have been chosen by our guest Adria, the CEO of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, if you're joining us late or have just skipped ahead on the on-demand. I'm now going to hand the listeners and yourself, Adria, over to the capable hands of Obi, who's going to tell you a little bit about Pedal to the Metal, what it's all about, and over to you, Obi.
Yeah, so why am I wearing this ridiculously pink helmet? And why I'm on this radio show? Well, that's two things right now. That's to promote Pedal to the Metal and to get you guys to interact and into it. Now, what is Pedal to the Metal? Pedal to the Metal is a 1,000-mile bike ride from Norwich in Norfolk to Wacken Open Air Festival. And then once Wacken finishes, I turn around, get back on the bike, and then cycle to the UK in time for Bloodstock. So it's 4 days of riding to get to Wacken, and then 5 days of riding to get to Bloodstock. And why am I doing it? Well, I do it to raise money for charity, and this year's charity is the Sophie Lancaster Foundation. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
All works out, right? And the two things I need people to do, because right now the donation line is live, so you can go and donate. You can also buy merch. All of the profits from the merch will be donated as well. And that's all being provided for by Moomin Merchandise, good old Dave, who's done some merch for the Sophie Lancaster Foundation before as well. And oh yes, and the fabulous artwork by Rory. I don't even have it's that fresh. I don't even have one yet. It's in the post. It's on its way here. And the other thing I need you guys to do is to go out, like, share, comment, spam anyone you know with Pedal to the Metal, because the more people we reach, the easier it is to fundraise. Because say I've got about 1,000 followers at the moment. If every single one of those donated just £2, we would hit my goal of £2,000 for the Sophie Lancaster Foundation immediately. So having a large reach on social media is actually really important. Just give you an example of that. There's this guy called Ian Ward who calls himself the King of Chemo. He's got a brain tumor. So what he does is he doesn't get people to donate. He times everyone to make a post explode, and everyone likes, shares, comments, and interacts with it. And then he uses that to leverage corporate sponsorship for the charities instead. And I think it's a really clever strategy. So it does go to show that it actually works.
Perfect. Well, get yourselves over to the Pedal to the Metal link tree. You should see it in the description for this video, for the stream. However you are however you're consuming this, the QR code is just above Rory's head. If you're watching the video stream, if you're watching audio, if you're listening to the audio, then it will be in the description below. If you haven't already followed. So that leads us into the next question is, what do fundraisers such as Pedal to the Metal, we mentioned Rabid Fest earlier, Deprivation Fest, and all the other festivals and gigs and everything else, what do those contributions still mean to the foundation moving forward, again, 20 years later now?
I mean, they really, it means the world to the foundation that people in the community really want to fundraise, because, like I said earlier, it recognises that there's still a need for the work the foundation are doing, that there's still a need to challenge that prejudice, that hatred that alternative communities can experience. So it affirms our mission. But I mean, in modern times, costs are high, it's tough times for businesses, it's definitely tough times for charities, and having a community that actually want to use their skill, use their abilities, use their creativity and the things that they do to motivate and mobilize this kind of fundraising so that we can keep doing what we do. It really is, it's the lifeblood of organizations, but I think it's particularly sort of pertinent and special really for the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, because it has that kind of by and for aspect. The community are raising money for us, and we're then advocating on behalf of the community, to be taken seriously when we report incidents of hate against us, that we shouldn't be discriminated against in the workplace, that we should be treated with respect, and alternative identities should be seen as something to be respected. We're doing that work on behalf of the community because it matters to us, and the community are fundraising because they care about that work being done, and it's a huge honour that they trust the foundation to do that work, and that they will put the time in to use their skills, use their ability. I mean, the ability to do all of that cycling, that blows my mind. And that's it. People doing what they can do and using the skills that they have it's really powerful.
And you mentioned while we were playing the last songs there, we were chatting in between there, talking about how the t-shirts are still one of the biggest ways that you guys earn money every year. Is there anything else that you think people may not think about, but is a good way to get people kind of interested in checking out the foundation?
I mean, I think what's kind of out, because I'm sort of new into the role and I'd seen the t-shirts and had the t-shirts, but I think what's incredible is the way that range keeps expanding. So if you come to the stall at a festival, if you can, you can brave the queues to get to the stall at a festival, which absolutely do, because there's so much more than t-shirts. There's water bottles, there's so many things that actually, like, that's really handy to be able to pick that up at a festival. Hoodie if it's cold in the evening, vest if it's too hot. There's so much stuff, and it's beautiful and it's creative, because these aren't, we were saying off air before, like, these aren't corporate designs. These are designs that come from creative people within the community, that we get, that you work with artists to do the designs, so that it becomes something that looks good and looks like something people want to wear and have. So, but you don't have to be at a festival. Obviously, only not everyone can get to a festival. You can go to the website. There's links from our socials to actually go, and you can buy the stuff online and have it delivered to you if you're not able to come and see us at a festival. There's all kinds of ways you can buy the things, but there's also a big thing for us is those grassroots fundraisers, and it's incredible when if you run the local rock night and you want to do you want to have a night where you're fundraising for us, then get in touch, link in with us. We can support you in that, because that's that there's run a rock night, run a marathon, whatever it is that you want to do, reach out to us, and we can support you in doing that and promote what you're doing as well. So there's so many ways that people can support.
And then one of the other things I wanted to ask as well is, obviously people know about the foundation, know that you guys are spreading the good word. Other than music festivals and gigs, what other work do you guys do behind the scenes to get the word out, as such, with meeting young teenagers perhaps, or community service groups? Is there anything that people might not know about that you feel deserves a light being shed on it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a huge part of what we do is around education, because I think those of us sort of in the alternative community who've had those experiences of discrimination and people treating us badly, for a lot of us that started in schools. I know for me it did, and then it kind of continues sort of out into the wider world, because those values often, when they're in schools, they're going unchallenged. I think teachers don't always know how to approach the subjects. They don't always know how to kind of deal with it. So we will go into schools and deliver workshops where we'll have those really honest conversations with children. I mean, it was secondary schools, but it's also primary schools as well, because these things, like you can't be too early having these conversations, talking to people about how do you treat someone who looks different than you, why would you treat somebody badly because they look different, and unpicking some of those values and being brave enough to have those conversations with kids, and hearing kids say things that it's not nice to hear people say, but unless you're prepared to sit there and have that conversation and challenge the values behind it, we're not ever going to make any change. We're not ever going to make the world safer for people who look different and live differently. So that's a really important part of what we do. Obviously we're a very small team, and there's a lot of schools out there. So as well as us going in and delivering workshops, we actually have resources that schools can access. Some are for free, some that they can buy, so that teachers can deliver it themselves, because that gets the message out even further.
Perfect. Any questions from you, Obi, before we play some more music?
No, you're stealing them all.
Sorry. Perfect. Oh, and in which case then let's play another pair of songs before we get in towards the last section. Let's go with something a little bit different. Let's go with some Nova Twins. This is Soprano.
Welcome back. And we just had Hammered by Native James playing, and what was on before that, Mikki?
Nova Twin Soprano.
There you go. So, carrying on with the questions. So, quite an important one here is, what should people do if they experience any prejudice or intolerance, and how can they get in touch with you guys for support?
So if you are able to sort of get onto social media, you can contact through social media channels, or you can contact through the website. On the website, there are email addresses that will signpost whether it's an inquiry, or whether maybe it's for education, or like whatever your particular need is. But I would say the really important thing is, with such a small team, if you contact us through social media rather than the website, or however you do it, we're going to make sure that inquiry gets to the right person, the person that is best equipped to deal with whatever it is that you need. So if you're experiencing prejudice, discrimination, or right the way through even to sort of hate crime type behaviors, like, we'll be able to give you some advice and some support around what you can do with that. We strongly do advocate for people actually going down the formal reporting route and actually reporting these instances to the police. And that's because in the past, there's been that kind of almost excuse, if you will, that, oh, this doesn't happen very much because we're not seeing it in reporting. But what we know with hate crime across the board is it's widely underreported, and that's particularly the case for, you know, subculture and alternative subculture hate crime, because people are not very likely to come forward with that. But when people don't come forward, it's really difficult to get like an accurate national picture of actually what hate crime and discrimination looks like. So we will support people to make those reports if they want to, but we also understand that that's not always the right thing for everybody to do. Some people don't want to. We'll always be led by the person, but we advocate for that because we want people to recognize that it is a real problem. It is something that really goes on. But, you know, get in touch, you know, start that dialogue with us. You know, on the website, there's a phone number you can call if you want to just ring into the office. You can, you know, contact us however works for you, and we'll see what we can do to advise and to kind of get you the best kind of outcome for what you're experiencing. And, you know, if you're working in a school and you're thinking, actually, I'm noticing some stuff going on with some of the young people, some, you know, bullying or some behavior that we don't really like, you know, get in touch about a school session, because they're really, really powerful way for us to sort of just support schools having those conversations and moving that on, so that you can have, you know, young people who are more accepting of people who are different.
Perfect.
And it really leans into the reason why I wear the pink helmet. It originally started off as as Rory drew it in the artwork. I was like, "Is that real?" And he's like, "Yeah, I found the image off of Amazon." So this is the second one. Well, this is the first one. I had to get a second one because every time we were at a festival or an event promoting Pedal to the Metal, Rory would like to run up to me, and he's got a cap with loads of spikes on it, and he'd headbutt me. So this one is covered in dents and dings and holes. So I had to retire it. So I've got a second one now.
A safe one, one that's actually going to do the job. Yeah.
Also not as sun bleached.
Yeah.
But yeah, its main thing is like, okay, I'm expressing myself by wearing a bright pink helmet, right? And one of the greatest things about the metal community is no one even questions it. Like, they're just like, that's just a thing.
Yeah.
But also it starts a conversation. A lot of people ask about the helmet, and then it's great, and then I launch straight into talking about Pedal to the Metal. So it's a really good piece. So, and it's probably one of the best pieces of safety equipment I own, because everybody sees it.
Yeah. Effective. Does its job.
Yeah, very effective. So say someone wants to help the Sophie Lancaster Foundation and they want to get involved. So who and how can people get involved with the Sophie Lancaster Foundation if they want to?
Yeah, I mean, we love to hear from anyone that wants to get involved and support, and there are so many ways that you can support. Again, you know, reach out to us, you know, reach out through inquiries. We'll make sure it gets to the right person who can kind of guide you with fundraising, and it really depends. I feel like the alternative community is so creative. Like, there's so many things that people want to do, and, you know, sometimes it's putting on bands, it's putting on a gig, it's running a rock night, it's, you know, doing some kind of event in the community. There's so many things that people can do, raffling things off, you know. There's people, it's kind of limited only by your imagination, really, and I think, you know, we're alternative people are a very creative group of people, so there's always something that someone will come say, oh, I want to do this, and we're like, wow, that's brilliant, you know. So yeah, reach out and get in touch, because we do have someone who kind of looks after our fundraising, and they'll support you with how you want to do that, and, you know, what it is that you want to do. And yeah, I think it's one of the real joys of the job, actually, is hearing about how people want to do something to help, and those kind of amazing ideas about what are the things that they can do, and how people can use their skills, whether that's art or music or whatever it is. You know, it's because the foundation, obviously, a lot of what we do, it's come from a tragedy. It's come from something that should never have happened, and a lot of this work is heavy. You know, a lot of this work is heavy conversations. But I think the other thing that the foundation exists to do is about uplifting the alternative community and celebrating those identities, because actually that diversity and that creativity is something that should be celebrated.
Yeah, last night, in fact, we had a Chavs versus Metalheads gig. So we had Ed Cox and MC Devo with Lease on Life, a local band from here, and Red Method. They all played the same show. It was absolute chaos. It was amazing.
Amazing. I love that.
Yeah, people from two different crowds that wouldn't usually interact were interacting just fine and getting on well with each other last night. It was really good to see.
Brilliant.
So one of the other questions I wanted to ask you about is, I believe it was the week before you were officially part of the team, the Sophie Instagram page put a post out about needing raffle prizes for Download and Bloodstock.
Yes.
How has that campaign been going for you guys? Are there any other bits that... Or not, no, let me rephrase that. How's that been going for you guys? And is there still room for donations for these? And what kind of items are you looking for?
I think there's always room for donations. I'm not 100% sure exactly where they're up to with Bloodstock. I think we are still we're still getting a few bits and pieces coming in for that, but I would say as a general sort of across the board statement, people are so generous, and we get amazing things donated, but Bloodstock is still a few weeks away, so I think there is still some scope. If people have got something that they think would be great, then absolutely get in touch.
You want to raffle up my old helmet then?
Yeah I want that.
So this one, we did a naming ceremony on it. So this one's called Euronopus.
Nice.
I was thinking about raffling it, and I think I was going to do it at parentheses, but I think Sophie Lancaster Foundation would have much better reach if you guys raffled the helmet off.
That would be incredible. Yeah, I want that. I want to win that.
Okay, I will bring it with me to Bloodstock then, or I'll get John to drop.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Bloodstock. It will actually be, for me, it's the first time I've ever gone to Bloodstock. So
really?
yeah, which is wild.
You're in a treat.
I mean, I've heard such good things. I've got a lot of my friends go, and a lot of them have gone, every year, and everybody says that actually it's just such a friendly vibe. It's just such it's a really great festival. So I'm looking forward to being there, but I'm looking forward to being there with the team as well, and actually seeing the festival's team in action, and just being part of that.
Yeah, so depending on whether we've got the van there or not, I would like, if I do stuff with the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, they kindly let me park my bike behind the store. So I'll probably see like that place this year.
Brilliant.
So. And obviously I met Jamie and the guy that chapter pod, not that chapter. What are they bloody called? I listen to all my true crime. Your ambassadors. Jamie and what's his? Oh, I can't remember his name. It's escaped me. They do a podcast as well. They're really funny.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing you there. And
I may have an item to donate as well, but I need to make sure I can get to Bloodstock before I can promise to donate something to you.
Okay,
so once I've confirmed it, I will let you guys know. I have something upstairs that I think will do pretty well.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. It's really, really appreciated, all the support. Thank you.
No, I mean, look, it's an easy choice for us to do because of all the work that Sophie Lancaster Foundation puts into the community. So, like you said, it's just one of those feedback loops that, like, the more work you guys do, the more we want to feed into that. So it's a very, very good positive feedback loop.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I suppose we've got time for the last couple of questions before we let you get off and enjoy the rest of your day, probably a very busy day. But obviously you've just mentioned Bloodstock. Are there any other events that you particularly are looking forward to getting out to meeting the new people that follow the causes, or anything that specifically maybe the rest of the team are excited about that you're completely oblivious on?
So I mean, because it's literally 2 weeks in post for me, so my diary is just starting to sort of book up with things, and things sort of dropping in there. Bloodstock's kind of the big one that's kind of sitting there. I'm like, that's going to be amazing. Fingers crossed for some really great weather that weekend, and I'm really looking forward to that. And sort of later in the year we'll be at Whitby in the October, which is so I haven't been to Whitby for years, but used to go all the time. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that yeah, there's always kind of something. I think there's so many amazing festivals and events, and we'd love to get to more. So I think we're going to be sort of exploring ways that we can get, you know, more of us out to more things, because that connection with the community is really important, and really, really powerful. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see how other things drop into my diary over the next few months, and some of the the things that I get the opportunity to go to. But I'm sort of equally, of festivals is one side of things, but I really enjoy going out to speak to organizations, going out to talk about the work in those kind of more formal settings as well, because I think there's something quite interesting about being very visually alternative and walking into those more corporate settings and holding that space and seeing how people respond to you when you're heavily tattooed and pierced, but actually you're the keynote speaker that day. And yeah, I'm all for taking those opportunities to get out and challenge some of those perceptions as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna tie back to an earlier question, like which we sort of touched on. It's like, with all the experience from social justice, victim support, working with communities, youth services, hate crime prevention, you're very clearly the perfect candidate for this new CEO of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation. But which experience specifically do you think you'll pull on the most for your new role as the CEO of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation?
That's a really big question, and I think there's so many. I've been really fortunate in the jobs that I've done to have, seen bits of education, bits of social justice, bits around the criminal justice system, and kind of have quite a broad understanding of how kind of social issues fit together, from education right the way through sort of into the wider world. I think really my last job was an amazing job, working with the homicide service, and the work that I did there, it was a really heavy piece of work, because it was around working with people who'd lost a loved one to murder and supporting them to help other people who were going through that. And the people that I had the privilege to work with in that, it was just the most incredible people you could imagine. People that would take the worst thing that's ever happened to them, the worst thing that can happen, and use that to try and do good in the world. I always felt like people would say to me, "Oh, I don't know how you can do that. That must be such a tough job, working in that setting and hearing about those things." And I always felt like you did see like the worst that humanity was capable of, but the other side of that was you also saw the best of humanity in those people that would give their time and use their experience to help. And I think for me, it's more than just sort of having knowledge of education and knowledge of criminal justice. I think I've been so privileged to work with those families that ties me into obviously what Sophie's family went through, and actually what started the foundation, what was the kind of the inception of the foundation being here, and having seen what was achieved off the back of these tragedies. But I really, I'm fortunate that I've worked with the people I've worked with, and I've seen, the amazing things that people can make from the very worst thing that can happen. And I think that will always stay with me, having done that piece of work for 7 years, and sort of bringing that forward, and just knowing how much people can give when they want to turn something awful into something positive.
Yeah, you're almost looking at the complete opposite sides of the spectrum with humanity in those situations. Absolutely, yeah.
Right, fantastic stuff. Well then, before we play you out with the last couple of songs, we'll end on a slightly less serious question. And so again, obviously we mentioned Bloodstock. It's your first Bloodstock. If you get time, because I'm sure you'll be very busy on the stall this year, if you get time, who are your 3 bands that you're going to be looking out for this year?
Oh, see, I think I'm only going to be there sort of the Saturday, Sunday, and I'm not sure what times I'm going to be there. I mean, Sunday's the day that I think I've got more chance to maybe sort of sneak off. I don't know about 3, but I'd quite like to see Kitty, bit of a throwback to my sort of my younger days, and I mean Judas Priest as well, who I have seen before, but yeah, I'm not sure. I've tried not to look too closely at the lineups, because I'm like, you're there for work. Stay focused.
You can have a break and just happen to wander over to the main stage.
Yeah. But I think we'll see how it goes. I don't want to. I've got to be focused on what I'm doing. But yeah, there's so much, and I sometimes think actually when I've been festivals I've been at in the past, sometimes it's the acts that aren't the ones that are top of your list. It's the ones you almost discover by accident, and you go to a festival you've not been to before, or even one that's a slightly different genre to what you normally listen to, and you find the really cool stuff. So who knows? See when I can get to a stage.
Well, I believe if it's in the same place, I think you guys are right next to the main stage. So hopefully you'll get a good chance to at least see those couple, and hopefully some more as well. The New Blood stage is just across the way.
Yes.
And then the other side of the main stage crowd is the other one.
Yeah, on the Sophie Lancaster stage, there's some incredible bands on there as well. So yeah, brilliant stuff.
There's a channel favourite, Wednesday 13 are playing.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Yes, my wife is very jealous.
Favorites.
And I'm not thinking about it if I'm not going to be there on the Friday. So.
Oh no.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got Leprous the next day. Leprous are great. And Carpenter Brute. If you like a little bit of if you like the left turns that we play on the radio show, you'll like Carpenter Brute. They're like synth metal. It's kind of cool.
Love it. Yeah. No, it's going to be great. Really, I'm just looking for. I think the whole vibe of being there is just going to be incredible. So, yeah, it's going to be really exciting.
Perfect. And before we let you go, is there anything else we haven't touched on that you'd like to let our listeners be aware of, or just remind people about how they can get in touch and donate and all the other good things?
Yeah, I mean we've covered so much, and thank you so much for having me on the show today. It's been really, really good to talk and to hear about everything that you're doing. I think really the takeaway message is, we are always here. We're doing this work, and we try to get the message out on social media. You can come to our website, get in touch with us if you've got something that you want to share, that you want to fundraise, or you want some advice, some support. Absolutely reach out to us. If you can't get to festivals, obviously you can come and see us at the festival. That's amazing. Come and talk in person, and that's incredible. But that isn't always an option for everybody. So do reach out. We're here. We're always working, always doing what we do, and it is those voices from people in the community that mean that we can really lend that authenticity when we are kind of putting our points across and trying to push for changes. It's connection to real people telling us their stories that really lends that power. So thank you.
Thanks for taking the time out of your day. I mean, we're lucky that you're only 2 weeks in post, because otherwise we would have been way too busy to do this.
No, it's always a pleasure to be asked. So thank you.
Well, as Obi said, thank you so much. Genuinely means the world to us to have you on the show and to be able to help in any way we can. Be it just letting more people know about you guys, getting people to donate to Pedal to the Metal for Obi, and obviously yourselves at the same time. And just generally raise awareness for a fantastic cause. I could go on, but I will be here all evening, all morning, so we are going to play you out. Well, yes. We're going to play you out with the two last tracks that you had selected for us. We're going to play We Are the Others by Delane, followed by Never Take Us Down by Beholder. Thank you again, Adria, and everyone listening, go and check out the Sophie Lancaster Foundation if you haven't already. Go find them at Bloodstock or any other of the major festivals that they cover.